Have you checked the children?
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes that is better.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the horror show. I'm Cecil, Laird.
Ruxpin.
I mean, Fuego here.
All masked up for the new mom once again, and we are here to follow up on the first season of a show that we all were attached to in book form, at least. So now we are here to talk about the second and final season that we know for sure.
Just got canceled.
But we are here to talk about the second season of NOS4A2, which is originally a Joe Hill property, but it is the Joe Hill property that ties the most obviously into the overall Stephen King verse. Of course, Stephen King being his father.
Papa Bear.
So we reviewed season 1, and all of us, if I'm not mistaken, were a little disappointed with how it ended up coming out and how it also ended up only being about half of the book. And so now we are here to talk about season 2, which is the second half of the book.
Yes, indeed.
And I'll be honest with you guys, just to start off with the overall thoughts like we normally do, this season was just way better than the first season, in my opinion. I had way more fun with it. The characters, I was way more into them this time around. I didn't necessarily like some of the changes that they made over what happened in the book.
And there's a lot of changes.
That's why I didn't like some of them, but some of them were okay, and overall it was obviously just put in to draw out the season to another full 10 episodes. But ultimately I still really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good season, and I'm actually satisfied with where it is. I didn't need any more. Marcia.
I thought they did a really good job capturing the essence of the book overall. And then with the second season, I think you're right. I thought it was a lot stronger, which is kind of sad that not as many viewers got to watch it, because I think it probably would have got us a third season. But you know, if you can't catch them on the first round, you're probably not going to catch them on the second round without a little bit more buzz around it. And with so much content out there, it was probably too late. So I know I didn't even get to watch it until like recently, and it's been out for a while. So I mean, that's kind of how it goes. But I thought they did a really good job. I thought that the ending, I was actually surprised that it was canceled, because the ending made me think that I was missing an episode. I thought that either it was like just like, oh, it's cliffhanger, they're gonna actually expand upon the story. That could be interesting. That could be cool. But then it's like, oh no, it's canceled. I'm like, really? I feel like I'm just gonna hang in, you know, like
it was just like any horror movie that has the creature pop out of an egg at the end of the movie.
I guess, but I didn't even feel like that.
No?
That much at the end. I guess it just kind of threw me a little bit. I didn't feel like it was a good ending of a season. It wasn't a strong ending for a season or a series, in my opinion, but that's my overall.
Train robber?
Yeah, well, my bandit mask it's trying to fall off, so I don't have to do this. But yeah, you know, it's very odd with this show because of the fact that as we said, they did change a lot, but yet they were also a lot more faithful. So whereas first season was kind of a, hey, gotcha, it's actually a kind of a prequel and incorporating some aspects of the first half of the story. And then this one was more faithful with bats and Lou and that stuff, which I really dug. But then some of the stuff they did with Maggie, I wasn't as into. And also just, I don't know, some of the backstory, I guess, of, you know, our nasty Mr. Manx and incorporating some of the Wraith stuff was good. You know, just finding more about his family, expanding upon that with Millie, his daughter, stuff that was not in the book. So, I don't know. As a whole, I feel like it was successful, but they were totally trying to do a third season, 100%. That's why they ended it in the manner in which that they did. And while I was much more satisfied with this, I'm kind of glad that they're not forging forward, if I'm going to be fair. So...
Cool. So, yeah, if we go work on fixing that so you don't have to hold it up to your face.
I'm going to have to retire.
Go ahead, it's okay. Take a moment. So, this story is continuing the story of the first season, where you have Vic McQueen and her husband and their kid, Bats, and they have avoided the evil of Charlie Manx, but the evil is brought back once again. And Charlie is set loose once again to try and cause havoc for Vic. trying to steal Bruce Wayne, and also just trying to make sure that Christmas Land and all the kids there don't run into issues that they ran into while he was sort of subdued, as it were. And I mean, that's the long and short of the story, and it was more entertaining because I don't know that it was more lean or mean than the first season, but I just feel like they had a clearer focus with the storytelling, and I just enjoyed the way the story unfolded in this season more so than I did second season.
Yeah, I think the first season wasn't as believable because they were trying to fit everything into a box that wasn't quite right, because number one, she already looked like an adult and she was playing a teenager. The whole thing with Craig was different and kind of threw you for a loop if you're aware of the actual book story. For me, it was just like, okay. But it just felt like they were trying really, really hard to make you believe she was this person and these things were happening, but it wasn't done in a way that was successful. I think it would have been much better. And maybe it was just the actress. I feel like maybe if she was young and they were able to play that off as a teenager and then have her grow up in the second season, maybe it would have played well for me. But for this one...
And we did have a young Vic in the funeral scene too, So I mean, if they had
made it work.
Yeah, they totally could have. It's a possibility.
Yeah. This one I really dug the stories, the backstories, like you were saying, like between her and her mother, her and her dad. You got that really great resolution between them. And everybody felt more like a person. Like they're not good, they're not bad, they're just people, and this is how life is. Sometimes it's messy, and she isn't a great person. She is really not a great person. She's really not a great mom. She's fucked up in the head. I mean, she's gone through so much stuff. I mean, she almost, she did make some bad choices in this season. I'll just say that much. But at the end, she still was a hero, and as much as she could be. So I thought that was really good storytelling. So I think with that, I think this story was really well captured. So I like that.
Fuego?
Yeah, totally feel the same, man. It's strange how they made Manx a little bit more of a multi-rounded villain, a little bit more of a sympathetic character in this, which I found interesting. And that was going into the backstory, especially the horrible stuff with him as a child, which was like just very, very unsettling and awful. Damn this thing! It's just not working for me.
Can you hold it at the back at least so your arm's not up to your face?
Yeah. It's going to be about like that. So okay, so this is how I shall have to proceed. Anyway, so that was at least interesting to get some gravitas in the fact that he did at times really mean well, but he became discouraged, especially with failure after failure and all that. And so making him not just a one-dimensional villain, but an actual person who fell into this sort of nastiness. And even with Bing and the arc of him and what they tried to do, different from the book, obviously, just like, different stuff that they did with Maggie and different stuff that they did with a few other characters, but it felt so much less CWYA to me than what they tried to do with season 1. This felt like much more of an adult story with real serious problems and stuff like that, especially with the stuff that Vic is going through, which I felt they captured very well with when you catch up with her in the book, and she is this damaged person who, just trying to be this creative success, a little more so in the book, obviously, but I mean, still artistically enabled, very talented, but the demons and with the house burning and the drinking, just all of this different stuff, the fractured, just very strained relationship with her and Lou and her son, I felt, and with her father too, never having even met, her man or, the child and stuff. The ghost sequences didn't work so well for me later in the season, where the actual father showed up at one particular point. But I mean, most of the stuff that they added and tinkered with, I didn't have a problem with. And you know me, how much I bitch about that stuff sometimes. I actually felt like a lot of the changes worked in this, so it was more faithful. But yet, even when they weren't as faithful, I still felt like story-wise and writing and everything, it all just came together pretty damn good. So, yeah.
Now, acting-wise, I feel like everyone, again, acquitted themselves very well. I actually liked everyone, I think, even a bit more in this one.
Same.
I think Vic and, obviously, Lou were tremendous. Lou is the standout for me.
Damn right.
I liked him most in the book. I liked him most in this, too. Big guys represent. But nonetheless, I thought everyone did a really good job. And so... Acting wise, I couldn't point out a shortfall this time around. Marcia?
Actually, and I hate to say it, and I don't know his name, but Manx.
Oh yeah, Zachary Quinto.
I wasn't as impressed with him this season, really. Like, they didn't really give him a lot to go on, to be honest.
Not a lot
because
to chew on?
No.
Sorry.
Because I honestly thought that his character was not very strong. Like, they tried too hard to kind of give him, like, justify why he's doing what he's doing, like why he hates women so much and all this stuff. Like, let him be the villain.
They
like,
seem
why?
to focus more on the daughter, even.
Yeah, like
Millie got a lot of time.
He really, you know, I don't know. I just didn't think that they gave him enough, and what they did give him, he was not very successful in it. It wasn't as strong. I just really like a strong villain, and I feel like they kind of talked him up more than actually was given when he was there. So that was my biggest thing with the acting and this time around. But everybody else did really good, especially like the mom really got me this time around. Like, you really forgave her for who she was in season 1. And I think that was really well done acting as well. And Vic did an amazing job as well. And Lou, yes. And the kids, I would say Wayne did an okay job. Millie was okay, but I don't think that they were as strong as they could have been, to be honest.
That's fair.
Being honest about it.
Am I the only one that felt like little Wayne looked like a tiny little Franco?
Yeah.
He looked to me more like Tim from Jurassic Park.
Okay, I could see that too. He looked like a little Dave or James Franco to me for whatever
that's
reason.
fair.
I don't know why. But I mean, acting, yeah. Just to double down on everything you guys said, I've dug Ashley Cummings since Towns of Love, which was a little awesome.
Bring it up every time we talk
thriller.
about it.
She's terrific in that movie. I mention it every time because I feel like it's a movie people definitely need to see. It's one of my favorite thrillers of the last 5, who knows how many years. But yeah, so she's good. I didn't mind Quinto, but I felt like, to echo your sentiments, Marcia, that it was definitely a choice to make him less menacing. It was a very deliberate thing. So maybe not as much in his performance, at least for me, but the way that they tried to write him this time, he was nowhere near as menacing, and Bing really wasn't either. I mean, that's where they really captured the nastiness of those two characters in season 1, and they kind of, you even get, not being super spoilery, kind of some redemptiveness.
A little bit.
Yeah, not to
There
mention,
is a deleted scene that
with
shows some jailhouse conversation.
Oh, okay.
Post
with who we're talking
yes.
about. Okay, yeah, which I was curious about because there's characters in the book that die that they make it through, and there's quite a few of them actually. So
because they weren't sure about that season 3 all that.
Yeah. The one addition that I want to ask you guys about, because I wasn't super into it, but so they do expand these strong creatives, so to speak, and there's another guy, little hourglass guy that they added in.
Oh yeah. Well, I thought you were talking about Maggie's relationship.
Oh well, that was
all
definitely
new as well.
different. But I mean, Tabitha she was in the original book, and she ended up with Lou at the end because of what happens
right.
with
That's right.
Yeah, but this. He felt tacked on. He felt like they just needed to fill some space.
Yeah,
and
a lot of that in season 2.
Yeah, it did. I mean, it did drag a little bit in the middle of the season, I must say. This could have been 6-8 episodes, and the fact that it was 10, I was even telling Marcia that I felt the last episode felt a little unnecessary, but that's because they were trying to backdoor a 3rd season. But yeah, man, acting, I mean, aside from, just added characters that didn't really do too much for the majority of the proceedings, like that guy, everybody else was good, and it was funny to see that little Tom Savini cameo too. So
yeah. I don't know why he's popping up in so many things, but
yeah.
What else is he doing?
He popped up in something else recently too. The very first episode of, I can't remember what it was now at this point.
No, I'm just saying, what else is he doing?
Well,
so,
conventions, which not
teaching,
right now.
Teaching, he has the school, remember?
Oh well. I don't think he actually teaches there anymore, but
sure.
Nonetheless, so talking about the overall just look of the show, it's still shot very well. It's still presented very well. The music is still well handled. The sound effects are all well handled. I thought all of that was fine. I actually quite like the use of Christmas music as creep factor.
Same.
I think that is because they didn't change the music. And in fact, they sometimes went back to really old Christmas ditties.
Yeah.
Probably because free.
Royalty free.
Yeah, royalty free.
Yeah, public domain.
But nonetheless, the use of them as essentially dun. You know, they're using Christmas music as the Jaws music.
Yeah.
Because it's the precursor of when Charlie Manx is coming. I quite dug that.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. We'll kind of all encompass that before we hit the effects last.
Okay.
As far as cinematography, sound effects, all that stuff. Go ahead.
Yeah, I thought that everything was spot on. Like, much like the first season, it was really beautiful and surreal at the same time. And they did a really good job of telling the story with the camera versus, you know, dressed up with dialogue, and you kind of need to in these type of situations, especially when you're doing a lot of stuff with like the car, right? Like, can't really do much with the car, especially like, you want to represent that it's cold and snowy on the road, and you're trying to like convey all these different scenes inside the car and with just the actors. So you got to do a lot with the music, you have to do a lot with the atmosphere, and just make sure your editing's really well as well, done really well. So I thought they did a good job. I liked it, and I loved the Christmas aspect, because there was a scene, I would say scene series with Little Wayne when he's asleep and he's just Little Wayne.
I was like, wait, I don't remember him being in the show.
Little Wayne, little Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, that cameo, don't you remember?
But he was like sleepwalking, and he's singing Christmas or humming Christmas music. And, you know, and in his dream state, in his inscape, he's talking with Charlie Manx, and you know, I'm surprised Vic didn't pick up on it, but it was really creepy, and like, being a mother myself, if my kid was doing that, I'd be so
like,
freaked
oh, hell
out.
no.
I'd be
We're
so
shutting
scared.
this right down.
Welch in the now.
Wake up!
Something is wrong here.
Wake up, son.
What's happening?
Folk.
But no, I thought that they did a really good job with that.
Fuego?
Yeah, even though it did feel kind of like a set, I still enjoyed the design of Christmas Land. I thought it looked pretty dope, and
It didn't. I don't feel like they ever went for that sweeping, wide, cool shot of the whole park.
Yeah, and that's
They kinda
because
just
it was
sidestepped
probably
it
on
all.
like a soundstage or something
Yeah,
instead.
yeah.
You know, and that is one thing that
Less
they
money.
do like very nicely in the Wraith prequel comic specifically, which is really cool. But the bits in the ice maze I thought were well done. When she's creating her bridge, I thought it all looked good. I mean, it is, once again, I mean, AMC, they're not like quite on the level of an HBO or anything like that, but I mean, between The Walking Dead and various other shows that they've been known for, Breaking Bad was also AMC, if I'm not mistaken, right? I mean, they always employ high production value, and their shows always look really, really terrific and can rival those pay networks. So.
Yeah.
So finally, let's talk about the effects. I mean, it felt like there was less effects in this one than before, but there was definitely a combination of both CG and makeup effects. Makeup effects mainly for our dude Charlie Manx and the kids of the park, which I thought the makeup was kind of okay, but there was no real wow factor as far as the kids. It was just pale kids with shark teeth.
I didn't like the teeth.
That was
man.
basically it. Yeah, it was shark teeth.
The
It looks kind of silly.
cheesy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, effects-wise, digitally, there was the snow around the bridge, and that was, you know, the white noise, as it were.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, there wasn't a whole lot to go off of, but for me, it still felt like it was not as focused on as it was in season one.
Yeah, there's a lot more practical, I guess, than CG, because then we got the blood, and which wasn't a lot of blood, but like a lot of it is like the makeup effects. And there wasn't really a lot of need of any real special effects anyway, because besides with like the moon and just the inscape itself, I mean, there's really nothing else left that they really need to do with special effects versus anything practical.
They're really.
But yeah, it took me out a little bit whenever they did do it, to be honest. Especially the snow, like when the kids would come out of the inscape and they would turn into white noise. I was like,
oh yeah, where Millie's walking
yeah, it was
out
very
at that one particular
sci-fi.
point. Yeah.
At that point, it was very sci-fi.
Yeah, and I feel like Kinto was definitely under the makeup less this season. He was definitely in like his like actual form, you know, his like
and when
normal,
it was just
person.
one version of him. It didn't change very much throughout the season like it did in season one.
Yeah, it was very nuanced in the first season with the progression of the makeup and his deterioration in comparison. So.
Yeah, when he did go back and forth in age.
He went from really old to back to perfect.
Like that.
Yeah, I was like, wait, why?
Well,
it has to be middle stages.
All you had was one cable disconnected in the car. It made that much of a difference? Really?
Right, and you just like put it back back in, but last time it took like a whole trip along the journey
Exactly.
for you to come back to life.
Yeah,
like,
it was inconsistencies. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I mean-
at the beginning of the season, the regeneration in the first couple episodes, I thought pretty cool with like the torso and the organs reforming and stuff like that. But really, after those first couple, they just took the foot off the gas pedal in a lot of ways, and you know, when it came to that. So
Yeah, Weddy probably. It's
So, yeah, I think that's pretty much going to do it for our expanded thoughts on Season 2 of NOS4A2. Again, we didn't really spoil anything, but if you enjoyed Season 1, then definitely watch Season 2. If you were iffy on Season 1, it might be worth it for you to revisit for Season 2, because Season 2 was better.
Yeah.
But if you just straight didn't like the concept, the ideas, the execution of Season 1, probably not much for not much for you here in Season 2.
Except for just finish out the story.
Unless, yeah. I mean, and that's the nice thing. You know that it was... I mean, Season 1 and Season 2 told the book story plus some filler. So, at the very least, you're getting the complete story at this point.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that's nice.
It did make me want to revisit the story.
Same
the book.
here,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it is almost Christmas time, so.
Yeah. So, if you guys did watch it, let us know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. If not, are you more or less likely to visit it now that we've discussed it? Let us know those thoughts in the comments down below. While you're down there, click the link in the description box to become a patron. That way you can support the channel more directly and also request movies for us to review, do commentaries for, all of that good stuff.
yeah.
Thank you again for watching. Until next time, I've been Cecil Laird.
I'm Marcia Parker.
And gracias a Jaime and Fuego.
And remember, stay scared.
Whoops, whoopsies.